Hi, I'm Travis, CTO at Proper. I'm going to be walking you through the features within our core ledger today. A couple things to note. So before we get started, you'll want to set your tenant key, which is the name of your environment, and then the client ID and client secret that we've provided to you. You'll also want to set a ledger name. That can be any string of your choosing. It's a namespace for your ledger. So with that out of the way, we can go dive into our API collections here. We'll be going through the core ledger first. And so I'd like to note a couple of things off the bat. Proper's ledger follows a standard double entry accounting practice. So you write down lines in the context of a transaction, and those lines must have balancing debits and credits. As long as they do, Proper will write down your transaction. So this is an example of a line. The line takes a subledger key and an account name path, which you can think of as a chart of accounts. It also accepts the amount, and the amount can have a polarity of either credit or debit. Now that I've explained the basic structure of a transaction on Proper's system, I'm going to go ahead and explain the use case that we're modeling out here today. It's an ACH use case, and for those who are unfamiliar with ACH is a payment rail that processes electronic financial transactions between banks and credit unions. ACH payments are sent to the receiving institution with a settlement date, meaning that those funds should not settle until the date given, generally T+2. However, it's becoming increasingly common for businesses to credit those funds to customers early, meaning prior to the effective date here. I'll walk you through how you would implement both an early credit as well as a standard ACH credit on Proper's system. Now that I've explained the basic structure of a transaction on Proper's system, I'm going to go ahead and explain the use case that we're modeling out here today. It's an ACH use case, and for those who are unfamiliar with ACH, it's a payment rail that processes electronic financial transactions between banks and credit unions. ACH payments are sent to the receiving institution with an effective date, meaning that those funds should not settle until that date, generally T+2. However, it's becoming increasingly common for businesses to credit those funds to customers early, meaning prior to the effective date. Here, I'll walk you through how you would implement both an early credit as well as a standard ACH credit on Proper's system. Let's go ahead and create the transaction and see what effect that has on our ledger. As you can see, the transaction was successful. We received a 200 status message, and you can see the token that was created. You can chain transactions in a single request, and you'll receive as many tokens as transactions are passed in. We'll go up and check our balance. Now what you're seeing here is the balance for the account holder that we just credited funds to. This balance is shown in text so that it's easier to read. However, you can turn this off by changing the accept header from text plain to simply removing it, and you'll receive the JSON response. Now we can go see how funds have been credited to the account holder. You can see we have a chart of accounts that starts with available funds, has a child account called ACH, and then has another child account for pending funds. You can see that those pending funds are a child of ACH, and so there's an owner balance and a roll-up balance. The owner balance is the balance of the account, so we actually credited funds to that pending account. But there's also the roll-up balance, and the roll-up balance is the notion that a child should always roll up to its parent. So the ACH account has a roll-up balance of credit 1,000, and the available funds has a roll-up balance of credit 1,000. So if you were to action on this, let's say you wanted to allow that cardholder to spend those funds, you could check their available balance, see that the roll-up balance was $1,000 and that they have $1,000 to spend. Now let's go create an ACH transaction that would follow a standard crediting flow. So we'll go down here and you can see the transaction has the same form as the one we saw earlier. However, we have a different account name path. Let's go ahead and create this. It was successful, and now we can go back and check the account holder. So you can see we now have a chart of accounts that's a little bit more fleshed out. We have an available funds account, and we also have a held funds account that is a sibling of available funds. Again, let's talk about roll-up balances. So roll-up balances mean that any child will roll up to its parent. However, siblings do not roll up with each other. So in a standard flow, you may have an account that's called available funds and an account that's called held funds. And so funds that are placed in the held funds sub-accounts will not roll up to available funds. And so if you were to check the available funds for an account holder, you would not see funds sitting in any sibling accounts. I also want to take a moment to call out the ability to see balances at points in time on Proper's system. So there are two parameters that you can pass when you're getting balances from Proper, as at and relative to. When you pass the as at parameter, you're asking for the balance at a point in time. So we're asking for the balance at this time, and you can see it's everything that we've created so far. However, I can walk this back and you can see you're seeing a view of the world that happened at that point in time, which allows you to see how accounts and balances have changed over time within Proper. You can also bracket with relative to so that you're seeing balances from a point in time to a point in time on Proper's system. So if I go back and make this 1935 and I turn relative to on, you'll go ahead and see that what was created during that time period was just the standard ACH transaction. The last thing I'd like to do is show you how relationships between transactions work within Proper. So we'll go ahead and clear the transactions that we've created earlier. So we created pending transactions for both the early credit and the standard credit. And now we're going to go ahead and move those into the available funds account. So we've done that for the early credit, and we can go back, turn off these parameters, and see that funds moved from pending into the actual ACH account, and the available funds are still $1,000. What we've just done is create another transaction to sweep funds off of the pending account and onto the ACH account. In order to provide contextual understanding of that new transaction, you can relate transactions to one another. The way you do that is by passing the relations field and the token of the transaction you'd like to relate the current transaction to. We've already done that, so we can go ahead and go get the related transactions for the given account holder. And you can see there are two transactions here, the original transaction for incoming funds and then the subsequent transaction when we cleared the funds.